M.L. Hollinger is the author of two books. They're cross-time science fiction thrillers, The Adventures of Regen the Bremen, where the drug-smuggling Regen has a highly unusual pet scheme named Hitler, yes, that one, and the just-released Josh and the Cargan, about a young boy coming of age and learning and struggling with intimacy with young women when he finds himself on 21st century Earth, where there are no sexual hang-ups, but he does have to thwart a sinister interplanetary plot. This was just released by Total Recall Press in Texas. Now, ML is a graduate of Purdue University. He's a Boilermaker with an aeronautical engineering degree, and he worked on several space programs, including the Titan III space booster, Space Shuttle, Star Wars, and several other special studies for the Air Force. Now, his books are part of what will become a trilogy of science fiction thrillers. He joins us today from his home in Carmel, Indiana. ML Hollinger, welcome to BookViewTV.
Well, thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Great to have you, sir. Now, a pet scheme, an interplanetary drug smuggler, an awkward teen who saves the world. Where do these ideas come from?
Well, they all come from right up here. That's my only source. I think these things up. They come to me in the middle of the night sometimes, and the various things that inspire authors to write something.
Well, what exactly, in your opinion, particularly when we're talking about, science fiction thrillers and interplanetary space travel, what makes a good story?
Well, I think adventure. I think a story that moves along. I think a story that's plausible. I think a story that has realistic characters in it, people that you can identify with, the reader can identify with them. They don't have tentacles or, 5-foot wide heads or something like that. There's a lot of far out science fiction on the market, and I write mainly human characters.
Yeah, we interviewed a gentleman who wrote a series of science fiction books where the teenagers were becoming their cellular telephones and computing devices. So it was kind of an interesting transparency. So it's good that you're keeping things in the real world here. Now, your characters are all very rich. One of the questions I always love to ask is, which of them would you like to bring to dinner?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think I'd like to bring Great-Grandpa Charlie to dinner. He's one of my favorite characters in Josh and the Cargan, and he's instrumental in helping Josh save several planets from disaster.
So, what is it about Grandpa that is so?
Well, he's eccentric. He's very pragmatic, and he's had an interesting life. He's done everything from working the mines to owning mines. So he's had a variety of experiences.
And I have to ask, since we know who you'd most like to dine with, who would you least like to dine with?
Oh, gosh, yeah, I think Regan's pet scheme. Probably the least favorite human might be one of the characters from Regen the Bremen. He's got several unsavory characters there. I think probably one of his drug runner buddies might not be too keen to have around.
And you said something about this pet scheme. He tends to have a problem with biting off the fingers of anybody that tries to feed him. That might be a problem at dinner, might it not?
Yes, it would be.
So, does this writing about space travel have anything to do with your chosen career field and your love of space?
Well, my love of space travel and science fiction came about when I was very young. My grandmother gave me Wiley Lay's book, My Rocket to the Moon, back shortly after World War II. And I read it and became fascinated with the idea of taking a rocket flight somewhere. So it was only natural I gravitated to aeronautical engineering, and then after that in the Air Force, getting into the military space program and helping develop the major booster for many, many years, the Titan III booster, which went from the mid-60s until 2004. They launched the last one. And then naturally the space shuttle, too. So I've always had an interest in that, and that naturally led to my career field. I read a lot of science fiction, or I used to read a lot of science fiction. I read my own stuff anymore, but it's just been a natural thing for me.
Was it difficult to write this style of book, or did you find it very easy to put them together?
Well, I've written a total of 8 books, and I can just turn them out quickly. I've been taking my time with them because I was not published up until this year, and so I thought, well, it doesn't matter how long you take, but now I've got some deadlines to meet and this sort of thing, so I find I can turn them out pretty easily. And I always had, my first draft was always stream of consciousness, where I just turned it out, whatever came into my head or wherever the characters wanted to take me. And then I would go back 3 or 4 edits later and have something I could present to a publisher or an agent.
Now, if these books would be made into a movie, who do you imagine would be the actor that might play some of the lead roles?
Well, that's a good question. I think the Regen, you got to have somebody kind of a cross between Arnold Schwarzenegger and Harrison Ford. Yeah, he'd be a kind of cross between those two. He has to be strong, big, tough, but he also has to have a soft spot in his heart for things like pet schemes. Well,
Now, if you could do anything in your life, what is it that you would do at this particular point in time?
I've had some very, very enjoyable jobs in my life, but I really enjoy what I'm doing now.
Now, you've obviously got a passion for writing science fiction. Is your favorite author a science fiction author?
Well, I have a variety of favorite authors. It might seem strange, but one of my favorite authors is John Dominic Crossan, who writes on religious subjects. I also like Barbara Tuchman, Jane Pagel, because I do read a lot of nonfiction. I like to write fiction, but I'm too lazy to do the research to write nonfiction. So, as I say, but I read a lot of nonfiction. So those are my favorite authors. All of the science fiction authors are fun for me to read. I enjoy reading them.
Now, if you could give some advice to beginning writers, what would it be?
Just keep at it. Keep trying to improve. Go to the writers' conferences that are in your area and pay attention to a lot of the seminars they have there. They will help you improve. Also, join a critique group of some kind, because nothing can improve your writing except feedback from somebody other than yourself or your family. Now, my family knows at this point in time that I want honest feedback, but many people's families, we give them a manuscript to read and they'll say, oh, that's nice.
Oh yeah, that was just great. It was wonderful, because the family will never be honest with you. I do understand.
Yeah, I couldn't put it down, and it's tough for family to be honest with you. They don't make you mad. But I'd say advice to a young author: develop a thick skin, all right? Because everything you write's not going to be good, and people are going to tell you, if they're honest with you, they'll say, the equivalent of that really stinks. I think I got one time from an agent that I submitted a book to. I got one of the most subtle turn downs I've ever had in my life on something like that. I can't even remember how she phrased it, but she did it so well that I thought, I think she likes the book. And then after I read it the second time, I thought, oh yeah, okay, fine, I get the message.
I believe they offer seminars now to agents and book publishers on how to very politely, shoot down somebody's dream. I do understand.
Yeah, they all have their method of doing that.
Well, they're fascinating topics, and science fiction thrillers and interplanetary travel. Again, we've been speaking with M.L. Hollinger. I want to thank you for joining us this evening, M.L. And the name of the books are The Adventures of Regen the Bremen and Josh and the Cargan. And Josh and the Cargan has just been released, and you can find that on all of the platforms that you would normally find good books are sold. You're watching BookView TV.